Let's start with a video from Fox News. I don't know what they're going to talk about in this video. Like I always say, I do not pre-watch any of this stuff. But yeah, since the last time we talked, which was a while ago, I will admit, there were temporary strikes that happened like over one of the weekend or over last weekend where Iran, targeted a vessel that was going through the illegal route that Iran has not approved on. According to the memorandum of understanding, Iran gets to, provide security for the strait. Like Iran is the one responsible for opening up the strait, and so they are providing security for it. And they have not approved anyone going through this channel. It was clearly a plot for America to try to claw back some form of victory from their obvious defeat by accepting the memorandum of understanding. And so Iran, naturally fired some shots at the ship. I think they admitted that they did that, or that it was them that did that. And then America retaliated by basically going into doing some strikes on Iran again. And I've been saying for a long time now, I think this is going to be a long conflict, man. I don't think that America is even capable of, taking the L that it needs to take in order to get out of this. The ironic part is the more that America continues to prolong this, this situation, the worse of a bargaining position they're going to be, especially if the oil markets are not fully up, to the same levels that they were before, because there will be global shortages. Like, I think that they're still drawing down from reserves, as far as I'm aware. And even as these tankers get out, it's going to take them like months or like a month or so to get to their destinations, right? So even that sort of relief won't happen for like a month anyway. But yeah, so then I think since then it went back into a ceasefire again. And that's basically where we're at, where Iran, I think that secondary route has basically been shut down. I'd have to look at the ship traffic to see for sure. But anyway, let's go ahead and start with this Fox News video. I don't know what they're going to talk about in particular here. So let's see what they're worried about. Strait showdown. Iran launches new warning as Trump pushes diplomacy. Let's go.
President Trump says Iran has agreed to most of the United States' demands.
I've defeated them militarily. They're totally defeated militarily. They have some missiles left. We could wipe them out too. And I hit them 3 times last week very hard because they sent a drone into a ship. I hit them. And we're negotiating, and we'll see whether or not. I think they've agreed to just about everything we need.
However, the Islamic Republic issuing a warning to oil tankers moving through the Strait of Hormuz that they must use approved routes or face a, quote, forceful response. Fox News contributor and former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman joins me now. Dan, good morning to you. So these negotiations right now, of course, aren't just about Iran's nuclear program. They're also over the Strait of Hormuz. And yesterday, Iran doubled down on their demand to control the routes that ships take through the strait. Here's the quote from Iran.
Well, it's not really a demand. It's de facto what they can do, right? Like, they do control the strait. There's no denying that. America was unable to open it militarily. And like I always say, America has to go home someday. There's nothing America can do about this in the long term. In the short term, they could try to go for a ground occupation. I've heard that there's been some troop movements that might indicate that that's the direction that they are going to go, which is what I originally thought, like the natural predilection of the deep state blob would end up inevitably doing. But I kind of backed off of thinking that that's what they're going to do, just because of Trump seems like diametrically opposed to putting troops on the ground or having troops get killed in combat. So I'm still not so certain if they're going to do that, but it does look like they're at least rearming potentially for another round of conflict. They're just not, and I'm like, we already tried this. We tried this already. It's not going to work. It didn't work last time. It's not going to work this time. What are you going to do that's different? You're not going to do anything different than you did last time. And it didn't work last time. Also, during this entire time period, both like during the actual hot conflict and during the ceasefire, Iran has been continuously producing more and more missiles and drones. They potentially have more drones now than they had when this conflict started. Like, and America is down to half of their interceptors after, well, that was after 6 weeks of war. Maybe they've been able to produce like 5 since then or something, you know, considering how terrible America's production capabilities are. So like, they do control the strait. It isn't like a demand that they control the strait. It is that they do control the strait. And there's nothing America can really do about it. So I don't know. I think that it's silly at this point to like, we'll see what they say, but they're like, they haven't told me what they're going to do differently yet that's going to actually make this possible.
Iran's military command, they say any failure to comply, deviation from the designated routes, or disregard for the navigation protocols of the Islamic Republic of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz will be met with an immediate and forceful response from the armed forces, endangering the security of the violating vessels. So is the situation now that ships are forced to either choose between Iranian demands or brave waters that are overseen by the United States? Because that does not feel like the free flow of commerce here.
Yeah, it's not quite the free flow of commerce. Iran doesn't want to close the strait entirely because they need it open to export their oil. We've lifted the blockade, and so they are selling their oil.
And lifted sanctions, I think.
At market prices, and that revenue is important to their regime, especially, obviously, the IRGC, which I believe will try to use that money to rearm and reconstitute their ballistic missiles and their drones. But at the same time, Iran wants to project power, and they want to enforce some control over their own self-designated sphere of influence. They want to make it clear to the Gulf states and the United States that they can control the Strait of Hormuz going forward, that they will have a role to play in how it's managed.
Yeah, that's right. And President Trump said
that's a rare good analysis from Fox News. I'm actually pretty impressed. I mean, he's not giving, I guess, his opinions on it, so that might be why. But yes, that is exactly what Iran is doing. Iran is expanding its regional influence with the power that it has won militarily through war, right? War is when you take your hypothetical like what is hypothetically possible, or like your hypothetical plans, and you turn them into reality, your hypothetical strategic position, and you turn it into reality. Iran has always said that they could close the Strait of Hormuz whenever they want. Iran has always said that they could hit any of these people, like any of these American military bases around the region whenever they want, right? Iran has always said they can hit Israel whenever they want, right? But it is only through wartime that you actually get to see like the real capabilities of people. And what happened here is that Iran's like actual military capabilities were way higher than at least the American leadership seemed to think. Like, I think Trump thought that they wouldn't be able to defend themselves as well as they did, probably, and have as much, regional power as they did, and regional capabilities as they did. But they turned it into reality. And the reality was that America was way weaker than anybody thought, and Iran was way stronger than anybody thought. And as a consequence of that, this is the thing. If you're going to go to war, you need to be willing to accept that, like, there are potential outcomes that are not going to be beneficial to you, right? Like, if you fail, then there's going to be outcomes, because it's going to make it undeniable to all of the people in the region that Iran is a military powerhouse. In fact, Iran is the regional hegemon. There's nothing that any of these Gulf states all together, and Israel, like, all together could do to contain Iran, because not even all of the Gulf states plus Israel plus the United States were able to defeat Iran militarily, right? All of this points to the fact that Iran is expanding its regional influence, and Iran will control the Strait of Hormuz. As I've been saying from the beginning, I've been saying, like, the way that the text was worded in the Memorandum of Understanding was so that Iran would eventually be able to toll the strait with Oman. Like, I'm going to pull it up again real quick just so that, you know, people can remember, but this is the main one regarding the strait. Upon the signing of this MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vehicles, aka Iran is going to control, during this MOU 60-day period, is going to decide who's going in, who's going out for the security of that passage, like assuming also that they are going to be trying to boost the amount of ships that are coming through during this wartime period, right? With no charge for 60 days only. Again, look at how, like, strange that text is. With no charge for 60 days only. How, like, very particular it is. From the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa, the traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instated within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz in discussions with the other Persian Gulf littoral states, in line with applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. It's really very plainly read that Iran and Oman are going to, decide the future of the Strait of Hormuz, and a part of that is going to be implementing some sort of, fees or tolling system. So, that's what the MOU states, and America agreed to that MOU. So, yeah, and this is just, Trump constantly trying to do, like, scumbag tactics, right? This is what Trump is like. He comes from the world of real estate, right? He's a slumlord. His entire process of, like, doing business and stuff is scumbag tactics, like ordering for stuff and then not paying it, or only paying the down payment but not paying for the final result, or claiming they weren't up to satisfaction with what he wanted, and so for that reason he's not going to give them the full price or whatever. Like, these are the scumbag tactics that you use when you are a slumlord, right? He's trying to take those same exact scumbag tactics, though, and use them in military geopolitical strategic decision making, right? But that's not how it works. When it comes to being a slumlord, you are technically the one in power, right? You are the one with the you're the one with the money. The people that you're probably trying to cheat are usually probably don't have as much money, wouldn't want to take you to court because it would cost too much, like all those sorts of things. There's a lot of, like, negative, like, things that come with trying to fight back against that. There's also similarly a lot of negative things that come with trying to fight back against America as well, like Iran has done. But the problem here is that Iran does have the military strength to fight back and actually defend itself, and has been forced into that position. And so he's trying to do these, like, scumbag tactics over and over again of, like, oh, you're not going to do, we're not going to accept you tolling the strait, even though we already agreed to it in the MOU. We're not going to accept that. And Iran's like, okay, what are you going to fucking do about it? Like, Iran can just strike more ships if they decide not to go through their approved routes, or completely block any ships that are not paying their toll, right? America can't stay there forever. America can't monitor this, like, this situation forever. America has to go home someday. So, like, these are, like, material realities that go like that are finally being forced to the forefront that Donald Trump's scumbag tactics won't have any ability to counter, because in the end the material reality is that Iran won the war and Iran will continue winning the war. The only, like I've said from the beginning, the only possible like strategic thing that could happen that could change the course of this is if America does a full ground occupation, and even that would be likely to fail, number one, but also number two, even if it didn't, would end up in the same result just 10-20 years down the line, like Afghanistan. So I don't know, it's all I don't even remember what got me started on that, but like I'm just trying to like explain to people why this is inevitable. There's nothing that's going to stop this from happening. America can't stop this from happening.
That he wants to give diplomacy a try, but there is, of course, a limit to everything, and these statements that Iran are making about the Strait are obviously pushing it. So what would a military operation actually look like for the United States to regain control or gain control of the Strait of Hormuz if it comes to that?
I just explained it's impossible. There's nothing America could do. Aside from a full ground occupation, there's nothing America can do. If America did a limited operation to try to take one of the islands, then the people who are there would be just missile sponges. We would be eating missiles 24/7. Iran, or drones, probably more likely. We would be eating drones 24/7. And we would have, constant lives being lost over the course of that occupation of that island, along with trying to get a supply line to that island would be near impossible. You couldn't go by the ocean. Because Iran would still just be drone striking every American ship that tries to come through. You would have to do some sort of like flight, like by air, like supply line that would be very costly, and also Iran it could still probably hit them, so I don't know, it's definitely not possible.
So first, I think it's important to emphasize we're in kind of an inflection point right now. I don't expect anything to happen between now, July 4th and July 9th, during the funeral for Ayatollah Khameni. After that, the question is whether we head to negotiations, in real good faith negotiations, which we have not begun yet. There were indirect discussions in Doha, but nothing substantive about Iran's nuclear program. And of course, we've got to be concerned about their ballistic missile program and their support to proxy terrorists. Everything that was wrong about the JCPOA, the sunset clauses on Iran's nuclear program. President Trump will be held accountable for delivering something better. And as far as a military strike is concerned, the president reportedly was briefed this week about military options, and he chose to let diplomacy run its course for a little longer. We've destroyed some large percentage of Iran's missiles and drones, but they still retain enough
the estimates from what I saw that was leaked to Washington Post, I think, was 10 to 20% of Iran's drones were used up / like destroyed, as they're saying, and what, like 30% of their missiles or something. How much of Iran's drones and missiles used up in war? Um, 60% of its pre-war missile arsenal. Wait, is this? When was this from? I swear I saw a different stat. This says 60% and 40% of its drones. Let me look it up on the side, but I saw a different stat from more recent that was like, it was actually like they still had like 80 to 90%. So let me just see if I can find that on the side.
Asymmetric capabilities, their Mosquito fleet, mines.
By the way, that was Google AI, so I don't know if I trust it 100% either. But
percentage of Iran's missiles and drones, but they still retain enough asymmetric capabilities, their Mosquito fleet, mines, some missiles and drones, to cause problems for us in the Strait of Hormuz. If we were to mount a military operation, it would be costly, economically costly, potentially. And so the president will have to weigh doing that versus the approaching midterms and the potential impact on the global economy and ours as well.
Dan, given your line of work, I'm sure that you've spent many 4th of July holidays overseas in various war zones, and we thank you so much for that. But also with that in mind, what would you like to say about America in honor of the 4th of July, Independence Day, and America 250?
Well, I will, just drawing on my own experience, I can tell you from having served in war zones overseas, my colleagues and I in the intelligence community and U.S. military and State Department, if we couldn't be with our families at home, there was no place we'd rather be than out there on the front lines doing what we could to keep our country safe. And on July 4th, my sons and I will gather with our friends and family and shoot off some fireworks in the neighborhood. But we think about our brave, patriotic American servicemen and women overseas, many of them in harm's way, keeping us safe so that we can enjoy this holiday, which is extraordinarily special
God,
to
I
us
hate
all.
this
It's
shit,
a time
dude.
to reflect on our extraordinary nation.
Dude, okay, I'm sorry, but like I have to state the obvious. The people that we are sending abroad to destabilize regions, to project power in all of these locations, to try to contain all of these various countries all around the world or whatever. These people, they're not making us safer, okay? They are not making us safer in America. Most of these countries don't want to destroy America. This is a propaganda narrative by America in order to justify all of its militarism abroad, right? The reason that they are over there is not to protect Americans. It is to protect international capitalists, okay? It is to protect Epstein's. That is the reason that they are over there. This sort of like I don't know, grandstanding about how he respects the troops so much and that he's so thankful for their service and they're protecting our freedom or whatever is all just fucking bullshit propaganda. I'm sorry. I know that makes people mad when I say it. It's all bullshit propaganda. That is not what they're doing, okay? And what they do does not make us safer. It makes us less safe. 9/11 is a perfect example of why it makes us less safe. The more you destabilize regions, the more you make people hate our fucking country, the more you make them hate us, the worse things are for us in America. And also, by the way, it doesn't help us at all, right? The average everyday workers. It doesn't help us at all. We will continue suffering. We do not see any of the profits that come from the exploits that we do around the region in terms of destabilizing and killing people abroad, okay? And I think a lot of people have woken up to that fact based on how much people fucking hate Iraq and Afghanistan at this point, how nobody saw any of the like bounty or whatever from that. Certain people did. A bunch of Epstein affiliates got rich as fuck off of that shit. But we didn't see any of that. So that's not why they're there, okay? They are there to protect international capital. That is their entire goal. That is what they die for. They do not die for America. They do not die for our freedom. They die for international pedophile capitalists. That's what they die for. So, and I don't want them to, by the way. That's my position. I don't want to send people abroad to die for Epstein affiliates, to die for pedobillionaires, to die for international capital. I don't like that personally. I would like to stop that from happening. And at the same time, make America safer by stopping all of these destabilization efforts abroad. That's what I would like to do. But not these people. They want them to keep dying for Epstein's, all the various Epstein's out there. That's what they want.
A great message, a great reminder. Former CIA Station Chief Dan Hoffman, we thank you so much for joining us. Happy 4th of July.
His analysis wasn't bad, but his propaganda bullshit at the end pissed me off. Let's go ahead and read this article real quick. I couldn't find it, man. Maybe my numbers are wrong. I'm willing to accept that if it is. So I'll bump it down to 50 to 70% is what they said of their drone and missile capabilities are still intact, which I mean, I still would guess that's a low ball whatever the intelligence leaks say, I would say is usually off. And Iran has been also saying that they have been producing more missiles than ever before and more drones than ever before during their wartime economy. So, there's that as well. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and read this article. This is from today, I think, or yesterday, July 2nd. Iran and Oman proposed fee plan for Strait of Hormuz, sources say. Monetizing the strait would be a dramatic change from before the war, when cargo ships transited without paying any fee. Iran and Oman have presented the U.S. with a proposal to administer the Strait of Hormuz that includes the joint collection of administrative fees by the two Middle East nations, four sources told NBC News. See, I told you it was also going to be a joint effort between Oman and Iran in order to, in order to soften the blow for all of the international capitalists, all of the NATO Atlanticists who want to keep profiting off of the free flow of commerce, at the expense of America's militarism. In a memorandum of understanding signed last month, the U.S. and Iran agreed ships could safely and freely transit the strait for 60 days, and that afterward, administering the critical waterway would be left to be defined by Iran and Oman in discussions with other Persian Gulf states. Omani Foreign Minister Saeed Badr bin Hamad al-Busaidi said in an interview this week that Oman does not support imposing fees on ships to transit the Strait of Hormuz, but he drew distinction between mandatory fees and voluntary charges to shipping companies to maintain the vital waterway, in a manner similar to models used in the Strait of Malacca in Singapore. Two sources familiar with the decision and a regional source said the plan has recently been delivered to the U.S., but a Middle East official said that while the U.S. had been consulted on possible mechanisms for the strait, Oman had not delivered a formal proposal. The new proposal for the future of the global commercial shipping route was first reported by the New York Times, citing an Iranian official and 4 diplomats with knowledge of the matter. A source familiar with the discussion said the U.S. negotiators have concerns about the proposal, but they intend to discuss it with the Omanis and believe the issue can be resolved. I think it's just going to happen, man. I think it's going to be the wording. They're going to probably discuss with Oman about the wording of it to make it, more palatable to the international community, if I had to guess. The American team values its partnership with Oman and is confident that it can resolve differences at the technical level, the source said. The source emphasizes that the Omanis have maintained their commitment to let shipping traffic pass without tolls and noted that the proposal did not contain any mandatory tolls. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly said in a statement, President Trump has been clear that Iran cannot toll the strait, which is an international waterway. Any monetization of the strait would be a dramatic change from the situation before the war, when commercial ships carrying 20% of the world's oil and natural gas supply transited the waterway without fees. Trump administration officials have repeatedly said a toll system would not be acceptable. No country is allowed to charge tolls or fees on an international waterway. Well, then maybe it's just not an international waterway anymore. Turkey tolls they have a very similar situation. Turkey tolls their strait, and the international community is fine with it. But that's because Turkey is an ally of America. It's a NATO ally, right? So they NATO allies can do whatever the fuck they want, right? They don't have to live inside the same bounds that we portray to non-NATO allies or people that we're trying to contain or our self-defined enemies. Sorry, my throat's still not 100% from being sick earlier this week. No country is allowed to charge tolls or fees on an international waterway. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters during a trip to the Middle East last week. That's existing international law. Who cares about international law at this point, man? I'm telling you, you can't use international law at this point. America sure as fuck can't. Look, I still use international law as a the relic of international law as a cudgel in order to try to get people to do the right thing, to get the world and the US in particular to act in a more moral manner. I will still use the cudgel of international law against countries like Israel who violate it on a daily fucking basis, right? I also don't expect that to do anything because it hasn't done anything already. We let Gaza happen. We let the genocide in Gaza happen. And America in particular facilitated that genocide in Gaza. And that's clearly against international law. We all saw it. Everybody saw it. It was streamed in 4K on our fucking phones, right? Like this horrifying incident that is clearly against international law. And everything Israel does is against international law. The West Bank, their occupation there is against international law. Their occupation of Lebanon is against international law. Their occupation of Syria is against international law. How they treat all of their prisoners in their torture rape dungeons that they have in Israel, all of their hostages, that's against international law. There's so many fucking things that are against international law that we just allow Israel to fucking do, that international law has essentially died as a cudgel, right? I'm still going to try to use it as a cudgel, like in order to try to facilitate moral and good things in the world. But it's ridiculous for America to claim international law is the reason for this right now. Like, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And nobody cares anymore. The rest of the world understands how hypocritical it is. And so there's not going to be a coalition that's going to enforce this thing based on international law. Anyway, this is Marco Rubio talking. That's existing international law. That's the way it is in international waterways all over the world, and that's the way we expect it'll be here. The Middle East official told NBC that Iran was pushing for the fees and that it believed the Americans would eventually agree to some version of them. Fees for the strait would be collected in consultation with the international community and through the International Maritime Organization, the official said. And if the participating countries agree, the funds would be shared between Iran and Oman. The official added, the funds could be used for assessing environmental risk, rescue efforts, and technical support, similar to the Strait of Malacca. That was the one they were talking about earlier, another location where there's fees and stuff for using the waterway. The official noted that Oman has spent money on maintaining the Strait of Hormuz for maritime, environmental, and navigational services for many years without collecting any fees, and added that the issue is still being discussed and is not a final proposal. Maybe now is suitable to charge something, the official said. Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's nothing America can do about it. There's just nothing America can do about it. Okay, let's see here. That was just something I pulled up for reference. What else do we have? Oh, this is also happening. So America, like right off the bat at the beginning of the war, killed the supreme leader Khameni, Israel and America, I guess. Killed their leader, and they expected it to be a similar sort of situation to Venezuela, I think, where some new person would show up and then give America whatever they wanted in order to try to stop them from doing any more like extrajudicial killings of their people or whatever. And a part of this whole narrative, though, was that they used the January protests, right? The January protests that killed 1.5 million people or whatever. How many people? Iran for people killed in January protests. Let's see. I think the estimate is around 3,000, if I remember correctly, of like named people who have been killed, who were killed in those protests. Now, obviously, like Foundation for Defense of Democracies and various other American propaganda outlets have inflated that number to an absurd degree. I remember there was a time where I was just like, I wanted like a ticker on the side of my screen that like every time they decide to bump up the number, because it went from, 3,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 to 30,000 to 40,000 to 50,000. It just got absurdly large and was so unbelievable. And Iran has maintained, by the way, that if these various organizations have the names of the people that they think died, they can, give them to them and they will investigate. But according to Iran, similar to Hamas, their Ministry of Health is usually very accurate in terms of their reporting on who died during these events. They estimated, I think, around 3,000. The administration later published a list of 2,985 individuals acknowledged as killed. So yeah, like they have given the names of 3,000 people. So, and they keep saying, if you have more names, give them to us and we'll investigate. But none of these organizations do that, which is why it's, I think, pretty safe to assume that they're all full of shit. Anyway, all of that being said, a part of the argument was that the Iranian people were going to revolt, right? They were going to revolt against Iran as soon as their leader was killed. Finally, the silent majority was going to rise up and take up arms against their government and fight for freedom and American pedo-billionaire capitalism. And that never happened, obviously. The Khameni is a revered figure in Iran. And I think that at his, they're planning on having millions of people. By the way, Iran is a smaller country than America. It's like, I think, a country of 90 million. Can you imagine if millions of people showed up to the funeral of one of our presidents? Can you fucking imagine that? That would never fucking happen. We do not care about our presidents in any way, shape, or form as much as the Iranian people apparently cared about Khameni, given the estimates of like how many people are planning to show up. So all that being said, I guess what I'm saying is that I think it's clear that the Iranian people, especially after America like bombed their girls' school and their infrastructure and all that and committed war crimes along with Israel, have moved even closer to the regime. And not only have they moved even closer to the regime, even all of the allies, all of the American allies, the Gulf state people are moving closer, because not only are Oman and Qatar, which were relatively expected to show up to the funeral ceremony for Grand Ayatollah Khameni, but also Saudi Arabia is showing up as well. They were not expected to, because they are not supposed to theoretically be in line with with Iran. But this is another sign that Iran is growing as a regional hegemon. So let's just watch this quick clip of it. Anyway, just another show of what I'm expecting to happen, which is all of these countries, they are like, look, America is going to drag this out as long as they possibly can, but the trajectory is clear. It's not going to change. The end result will be a regionally dominant Iran that is much more powerful than they were before. And not necessarily much more powerful militarily. They always had that power, but much more powerful politically. all of these countries are going to line up to make agreements with Iran. We're already seeing examples of that, to try to normalize relations with Iran in order to, because they don't want to be at odds with the regional hegemon. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to abandon America immediately, right? They're still probably going to have plenty of bases on their region, potentially. But I think they're going to start balancing their security arrangements between America and Iran, is probably likely what's going to happen.